let's look into our next game. We're back at it again with Dirvel, and this time facing the counterpart of the dynamic duo. It's Cass, his opponent.
The winner's match. The winner moves directly into the grand finals for EU qualifiers, starting with a 1-0 score. And the map is Kopo Mine. Now you have the twisted DNA lane on one side, and the other long lane with a lot of buildings next to it.
So let's talk about kind of how these buildings work, right? There's no it's not going to block a ton of shots. But
it doesn't actually block the side of view for artillery.
Yeah. But it can be a little bit, if you're really hectic in the moment, you might miss something if it's kind of hiding behind there. I know that happened to me a couple of times. So let's see what our openers were for both players. It looks like Dirvel is actually going for a little bit of a heavier Air Force. 2 fighters right off the bat.
Yeah, Dirvel's still getting that US Armored, and Cass actually having that US Infantry. So there are some different units, but let's see how Dirvel actually uses this one, because this map doesn't really have... Okay, there are a few spots, I would say a lot less compared to what we just had. Especially for the anti-tank gun. But you can still control the air with these kind of planes as he's just sweeping through the lane.
Okay,
so powerful.
You can't deal damage to units by poking them, despite what you guys might have seen there on your screen. But let's talk about some of the interesting differences here. We've got armor versus infantry. The biggest difference is that like the U.S. infantry gets the troop truck for mortars, so it's kind of like an infantry version of artillery, and it's actually really powerful because it'll just keep spawning those, and it can be really hard to deal with. Meanwhile, we just did see Dirvel pick up the first cash drop there, so he's going to get a little bit of extra money from that. Go up a tier level.
Yes, I think it's also because Dirvel's got a lot more Sherman tanks and also troops out in the map already, where Cass, I believe, lost the first plane getting out of the base.
Well, Dirvel's got that anti-tank gun out for sure now, and that has been just so powerful for him in the last game. But in this map, Kopo Mine does not have that high ground sort of area to get entrenched on, so that's not where he's just setting up the anti-tank gun in the lane.
He's setting him up because there is that straight path, and they will actually shoot directly to the tower, but there can be some amount of defense. Not yet. We don't really see too many fighter P-47 planes coming out from Cass. There's one. It's coming.
All right, well...
But it will take some time to actually get the anti-tank, though.
Yeah, now talk about fighters a little bit here, G-Clef, because they can strafe and help deal with long-range units like that anti-tank gun, but it's all about how you use them.
Oh, look at that micro. Dirvel turned it around to chase the tails of the opponent's Thunderbolt.
Yep, and there he is swiping on the ground to make sure that those planes come down for a little bit of a strafing run. But it's 2-on-1. The air advantage still goes to Dirvel.
And in the meantime, I believe Dirvel's setting up for a few more artilleries coming out. I think he really wants to pressure the lane here.
And look at this Air Force. It just continues to secure that location. That anti-tank gun keeps firing away. And, you know, this is a 3-lane map, so that increases the number of turrets by 2. And he's already almost done with his first one.
Now, Cass is trying to set up for a longer game, making sure the wave pressure is a little more with those troops inside the base, but losing that much tower HP, the first one should be gone.
I mean, it's very close to it there, G-Clef. I mean, we already saw the first tower drop, and now working on tower number 2. And you know, Cass is coming out with this anti-aircraft gun to help deal with the fighters, but as soon as it leaves the base, it dies immediately.
Dirvel wants to speed run this thing. As he's going super aggressive now into the central part of the map, going for the secondary towers here.
He just doesn't care. He's left the lane. He's gone off the grid. He's got that anti-tank gun in such a difficult position to deal with.
Yes, this is exactly what Dirvel's saying. Okay, this setup is perfect. I got the air units, I got the long range. Let's go for the secondary attack for the next set of towers, because Cass still has to deal with the first set of attacks coming down from Dirvel and worry about the second wave coming.
You know, a lot of players might look at the U.S. Armored and think, oh, it's all about the Calliope. That's your artillery unit. No! It's the anti-tank gun that's getting so much damage done. It's so impressive to watch.
There are a few other maps for Calliopes to go around in the high heel and then high place grounds, where you can actually get a lot more value. I think Dirvel's just using similar strategies where you just outrange your opponent so far, and for your opponent to have better micro than you maybe with that If you have that with the planes, it's possible, but base is actually taking damage already. Only 5
what?
minutes in!
This is a speed run. I'm glad you called that out early. This push is so strong, and now actually Dirvel is moving those anti-tank guns closer and closer, or maybe it just looks like that because there's so many units flowing through them. The constant stream of tanks, it just doesn't stop.
Am I colorblind? Like, is that the red artillery in front of the base right now, 5 minutes, 21 seconds?
I think you're right there, G-Clef. It is actually so hard to stop this. Look at the blue...
10 Sherman tanks on the way, 11! Dirvel wants to pressure and finish the game right now. Cass, it's not enough. 4 towers down, even more are going down. The damage, base is on the fire.
Damage is real here, G-Clef, and there it goes. Game number 2 is over. Dirvel goes to the EU Championship Grand Finals.